What up with it, YouTube world? You in the house with your boy Chin Checker. Say, man, I want to tell you guys I appreciate all the comments you've been giving me. Some of them been negative, but majority of them been good, so it's all good. I want to wish you guys a happy New Year's, and you already know we're doing these reaction videos. Also, you're going to want to stick to the end, man. I got a very important announcement for you guys. But let's get right into the video. Thanks again for all my subscribers. You already know I'm going to ask y'all to hit that subscribe button, man. I'm trying to get to 500 by March. Come on. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Corrupt cops instantly killed when they went to prison. Y'all already know this is my type of video here. But without further ado, I'm going to get right into it. Peace. Happy New Year's.
The justice system around the world faced grim incidents as corrupt police officers were killed instantly while they were in jail. In one case, multiple people were imprisoned for the actions of an officer. Sit back as we explore 4 of these cases, the perpetrators involved, and the repercussions of their actions. Follow earnestly and answer the question, was justice served? In the dark underbelly of Florida, there once lurked a man whose sinister deeds earned him chilling monikers: the Killer Cop, the Hangman, and the Butcher of Blind Creek. Gerard John Schaefer Jr., a former sheriff's deputy turned murderer, shocked the nation with his gruesome crimes. Convicted for the 1972 murder and mutilation of 2 teenage girls, Schaefer's true body count may have reached a staggering 26 victims, but justice would come for the sadistic killer, as he was sentenced to life imprisonment in 1973. However, the story took a shocking turn when Schaefer met his own fate at the hands of a fellow inmate in December 1995. Described as the most sexually deviant person by prosecutor Robert Stone,
he would tell me that he took them up on the logging road and strangled them and had sex with their corpses and went back and had sex with their corpses and cut off their heads.
Wow.
Schaefer's crimes were beyond comprehension. Not only was he a law enforcement officer at the time of his arrest, but he also had a chilling method known as the hangman's approach. Before torturing and murdering his victims, he would bind them to trees with a hangman's noose around their necks. It was a horrifying trademark that emphasized the sadistic nature of his crimes. Schaefer's troubled upbringing may have provided a glimpse into the darkness that consumed him. Raised in a tumultuous environment, with a father who was an alcoholic and verbally abusive, he developed a troubled relationship with his family. The frequent relocations and his father's favoritism toward his sister added to his sense of resentment and alienation. However, Schaefer found solace in the outdoors, indulging in activities such as hunting and fishing. Yet, behind the facade of an outdoorsman lay a disturbed mind with sinister desires. As he entered adolescence, Schaefer's fantasies took a dark turn. He developed a fondness for sadomasochism and bondage, deriving pleasure from inflicting pain on himself while engaging in autoerotic asphyxia. His fantasies grew in intensity and frequency, consuming his thoughts and leading him to engage in bizarre rituals in rural locations. Peeping Tom behavior and cross-dressing became part of his habits. He also indulged in voyeurism and harbored a disturbing fixation on women's undergarments. Though Schaefer's classmates viewed him with disdain, his teachers saw a promising student. He excelled in sports and academics, leaving a positive impression on his educators. However, beneath the surface of his seemingly normal life, a predator lurked, awaiting his opportunity to unleash his sadistic desires. Before his descent into darkness, Schaefer had dreams of shaping young minds as a geography teacher. But his inability to accept advice and his penchant for imposing his own beliefs on students ultimately led to his downfall in the teaching profession. However, fate would take him down a different path when he joined law enforcement and embarked on a chilling spree of abductions and sadistic acts. It was during one of these encounters when he encountered 2 teenage hitchhikers, Nancy Ellen Trotter and Paula Sue Wells, that his true nature was exposed. Schaefer claimed to be an undercover officer and took the unsuspecting girls to a secluded area where he bound them to trees. He also placed nooses over their heads and threatened to rape and murder them. Miraculously, the girls managed to escape, leading to Schaefer's arrest. The accounts of Trotter and Wells painted Schaefer as the assailant. They gave vivid descriptions of him and his vehicle. Schaefer, desperate to rationalize his actions, claimed he was merely trying to teach a lesson about the dangers of hitchhiking, but his feeble defense fell on deaf ears. Dismissed from the force and facing charges of false imprisonment and aggravated assault, he awaited trial while free on bail. Astonishingly, those who knew him closely saw no change in his demeanor, blindly accepting his absurd explanation. Little did they know the monstrous crimes that awaited revelation. Susan Carroll Place and Georgia Marie Jessup were two innocent teenage friends who unwittingly crossed paths with Schaefer. Posing as Jerry Shepherd, Schaefer abducted the girls. Their mothers encountered him briefly, never suspecting the danger that lurked beneath his charming facade. At 8:45 p.m. on that fateful night, the girls vanished, leaving their mothers with a sense of unease and mounting dread. Days turned into weeks, and the girls' disappearance transformed into a cold case. But the nightmare didn't stop there. More victims emerged. Mary Alice Briscolina and Elsie Lena Farmer, found beaten and lifeless, discarded like unwanted dolls. Then came Colette Marie Goodenough and Barbara Ann Wilcox, who hitchhiked their way into Schaefer's path, only to meet a horrifying fate. Their skeletal remains, bound together with baling wire, were discovered near a large tree in January 1977. As investigators unraveled the web of darkness surrounding Schaefer, a pattern emerged, an evil force preying upon the vulnerable, using the guise of a helping hand to snuff out innocent lives. Friends of the victims recalled encounters with a man they knew as Gary Shepherd, who, in a twisted charade, masqueraded as an ex-police officer. September 17, 1973. Gerard John Schaefer faced a jury in St. Lucie County, Florida. The charges against him were murder in the first degree. The prosecution, led by formidable attorneys Stone and Shaler, meticulously presented their case. Schaefer's defense team, Schwartz and Bruce Colton, prepared to challenge the mounting evidence against their client. It was a clash of legal minds that would shape the outcome of this dark saga.
I didn't do it. I don't think the state has proved that I did it in any way. And the testimony of my witnesses has counteracted the testimony of the other witnesses.
The trial began with powerful testimonies. Two individuals who had discovered the dismembered bodies of Susan Carroll Place and Georgia Marie Jessup shared the haunting details of their findings. Lieutenant Patrick Duval described the crime scene and the evidence recovered, painting a vivid picture of the heinous acts committed by the defendant. The parents of Susan Place took the stand. Their grief was palpable as they positively identified Schaefer as the man seen with their daughters before their disappearance. The prosecution's case was built on a foundation of physical and circumstantial evidence. A clerk provided proof of Schaefer's vehicle registration, linking him directly to the crime. Lieutenant David Yurchuk detailed the search of Schaefer's mother's home, uncovering crucial evidence. Medical examiners testified about the autopsies, the victims' injuries, and the marks left on their bodies. Nancy Trotter and Paul Wells, who had narrowly escaped Schaefer's clutches, bravely recounted their harrowing ordeal, leaving the courtroom in stunned silence. The prosecution's evidence included actual tree limbs used to suspend the victims, displaying deep markings where they had struggled to stay alive. The routes upon which Place and Jessup had balanced themselves to avoid being hanged were also presented. These pieces of evidence formed a chilling tableau of their torment, lending weight to the state's case. Yet, the defense fought relentlessly. Schwartz sought to dismantle the prosecution's witnesses and evidence. He challenged the identifications made by the victims' families, suggesting they may have been mistaken. The defense presented alternative theories, arguing that the gravesite had been dug after Schaefer's incarceration. They attempted to cast doubt on the credibility of the evidence, raising questions about the actual date of the victims' deaths and the erosion at the burial site. As the trial neared its conclusion, both sides delivered impassioned closing arguments. Philip Shaler, the prosecutor, eloquently weaved the evidence together, urging the jury to return a verdict of guilty. He reminded them that Schaefer had played God, deciding the fate of innocent lives. Bruce Colton, Schaefer's defense attorney, passionately countered, challenging the state's case and emphasizing his client's presumption of innocence. After 5 hours of deliberation, the jury returned with a verdict. Gerard John Schaefer was found guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder. His proclamations of innocence fell on deaf ears. Judge Trowbridge pronounced the sentence, 2 concurrent terms of life imprisonment. Behind prison walls, Schaefer's persona remained enigmatic. He garnered a reputation among fellow inmates as an aloof and imperious figure. Rumors swirled that he may have acted as an informant to secure privileges from authorities. His time in solitary confinement, a result of various prison mail violations, only added to the enigma. Shockingly, he even attempted to persuade members of the public to send him female undergarments, an eerie glimpse into his disturbing psyche. Schaefer also assisted authorities in uncovering a pedophile operating a child pornography ring. His insider knowledge led to the arrest and conviction of individuals involved in this heinous trade, shedding light on the dark underbelly of criminal activity. Justice took a sinister turn on December 3, 1995. Schaefer was found dead in his cell. His body bore the marks of over 40 stab wounds. His face, head, neck, and body ravaged by a frenzied attack. A fellow inmate named Vincent Faustino Rivera was Schaefer's murderer. Hilariously, the cause of this violent act was the final cup of hot water from a dispenser. Gennady Mikovich. Mikovich was a notorious serial killer of the Soviet Union. He committed a string of horrifying crimes between 1971 and 1985. His victims, 36, women in total, were from Vitebsk, Polotsk, and the surrounding areas in the Byelorussian SSR. He served as a freelance police officer. Born in 1947 in Vitebsk Oblast, Mikovich served in the military. He claimed that his killing spree began after he returned from service and discovered that his girlfriend had left him and married someone else. On May 14th, 1971, Mikovich's life took a dark turn. At the age of 24, plagued by a hepatitis diagnosis, he embarked on a journey to reunite with his parents. However, his troubled mind fixated on thoughts of his former love. Unbeknownst to him, fate had set in motion a series of horrifying events that would captivate the nation. Consumed by despair, Mikovich contemplated suicide, but instead of taking his own life, he turned his twisted desires toward others. Spotting an unsuspecting woman walking alone, he made a chilling decision. He raped her before strangling her. After that, he hid the corpse of his victim.
Man, these dudes is off the chain. Rape, murder, the police? It's crazy.
This marked the beginning of his 14-year killing spree, leaving behind 35 more victims in its wake. Amidst the darkness, one woman miraculously escaped his clutches. Intercepting the noose around her neck, she fought for her life, forcing Mikovich to retreat momentarily when school children appeared nearby. Tragically, another innocent soul fell victim to him on that very same day. Over the years, Mikovich continued his reign of terror, staining the calendar with dates forever marked by tragedy. Education did not deter his bloodlust as he returned home. His actions on dates like April 15th and July 30th, 1972, and April 11th, 1973, became notorious in their own right. In April 1976, Mikovich settled in the secluded village of Thessaloniki. In Thessaloniki, he led a dual existence, projecting an image of respectability while harboring a sinister alter ego. Though regarded as a model citizen, his true nature came to light as the killings continued. Strangulation, using improvised means, such as belts and scarves, became his gruesome trademark. Raping his victims before discarding their bodies near the roads that connected Vitebsk, Lepel, and Polotsk, he left behind a trail of stolen possessions and shattered lives. The community was left in disbelief as the chilling truth unraveled. How could such unimaginable evil reside among them? Mikovich, who appeared virtuous, defied understanding. Fear gripped the region as the list of victims grew. The question of who would be next haunted everyone's thoughts. In the shadows, Mikovich continued his deadly spree, enveloped in darkness and mystery. The nation held its breath, anxiously waiting for justice to finally close the chapter on this horrific saga. In a confession, Mikovich stated, "When I was alone, a special state rolled over me. I needed a woman to touch her body, to try to have sexual intercourse with her. If I contacted a woman, I was overcome by insanity. I crushed her and killed her. At that moment, I had such a state, as if everything around me was in a fog. The main thing was to strangle the woman and not to have sexual intercourse with her. At the moment of suffocation, I experienced the greatest satisfaction. It took place when the woman was dead." On January 13th, 1984, Tatiana K., a young student, set out from her hostel to the Luchisa station near Polotsk. Weeks later, on February 2nd, her lifeless body was discovered beneath a railway embankment. Suspicion quickly fell upon Oleg Adamov, a young driver who happened to be in the vicinity at the time of the murder. Despite his inability to account for the whereabouts of the victim's bag, the weight of the investigation bore down on him. Broken and desolate, he was sentenced to 15 years behind bars. In a desperate bid to escape his torment, Adamov even attempted to take his own life within the confines of his prison cell. However, Adamov was not the only one to pay for Mikovich's crimes. A total of 14 individuals were convicted for the crimes attributed to Mikovich. Over the course of 11 grueling court sessions, the consequences reverberated through the lives of these unsuspecting souls. One met a fate of execution, another became blind, only to be released as not dangerous, and yet another served a decade-long sentence. In the chilling annals of serial killers, Mikovich stands out not only for the gruesome trail of murdered victims he left behind, but also for the unjust suffering endured by those wrongly convicted of his murders.
Ну, уже когда последнее свидание было у меня после утверждения Москвы, я, конечно, сына не узнала. Он был очень страшный, одета на нем какая-то одежа полосатая, черный такой, я не могла больше с ним говорить. Там бледнее кост, только страшный.
Man, these dudes is crazy. Killing people.
Его толкают. Конец свидания, уходи, Тереня, конец свидания.
But in the face of this horror, a principled investigator, Nikolai Ivanovich Ignatovich, emerged with an unwavering determination to break the chain of falsehoods and bring the elusive killer to justice. Ignatovich refused to believe the false narratives that had plagued previous murder cases. He keenly recognized the disturbing similarities in the locations and methods of these crimes, boldly asserting that a single individual was responsible for the murders along the highways connecting Lepel, Vitebsk, and Polotsk. However, his audacious declaration was met with resistance, as others dismissed him as an inexperienced boy with frivolous claims. Undeterred by their skepticism, Ignatovich risked his own safety to unravel the truth and capture the real villain. Drawing upon the mounting evidence and testimonies, a haunting portrait of the killer began to take shape. It was deduced that the perpetrator possessed an intimate knowledge of the area, was likely aged between 32 and 42, and had received secondary education. With an estimated height ranging from 175 to 185 centimeters and a head of curly blonde hair, the killer had left a credible impression on witnesses. Through careful analysis, investigators made a breakthrough realization: the killer's profession was likely connected to mobile equipment. It was no coincidence that Mikovich, who also worked as a freelance policeman, frequently inspected drivers of red Zaporozhets cars, a pivotal detail that aligned perfectly with their prime suspect. As the investigation intensified, Mikovich grew increasingly desperate. In a misguided attempt to throw off the authorities, he resorted to an anonymous letter sent to the Vitebsky Rabochai newspaper. In this ill-fated message, he cunningly attributed the murders to vengeful husbands, driven by the rage of their wives' infidelity, and signed it as the Patriots of Vitebsk. Unbeknownst to Mikovich, his reckless ploy would seal his own fate. Behind the wheel of his red Zaporozhets, on his way back from the newspaper office, he spotted a hitchhiker. Seizing the opportunity, he offered her a ride to Thessaloniki. The following day, yet another lifeless body was discovered, adorned with a note bearing the same message and signature: Patriots of Vitebsk. Handwriting experts were summoned, their scrutiny honed by the watchful eye of the KGB department. Exhaustively examining over 500,000 samples, the breakthrough came when a striking similarity was discovered: a resemblance between the handwriting of the Patriots of Vitebsk and a statement previously made by Mikovich at the local police department. Suspicion closed in on him, with additional incriminating evidence falling neatly into place, leaving little room for doubt regarding his guilt. 3 dedicated capture teams were deployed in a desperate bid to apprehend the maniac, but Mikovich had vanished into thin air. Neither his home nor his workplace yielded any trace of him. It was only when he was discovered in a neighboring village, visiting relatives and preparing for a hasty departure, that his reign of terror came to an end. He was arrested on December 9th, 1985. Even then, Mikovich remained eerily composed, uttering to his wife, "It's a mistake. I'll be back soon."
Я должен вам объявить, что допрос будет производиться с применением видеозаписи. Вы против этого возражения не имеете?
Got him.
Так покажете это в Союзе. Ну, зачем? В Союзе вас никто показывать не будет.
As he was escorted to the prosecutor's office, his gaze met the piercing eyes of Nikolai Ignatovich, the relentless investigator who had unveiled his true identity. The weight of his depravity bore down upon him as Ignatovich asked, "So, you are the Patriot of Vitebsk?" A subsequent search of Mikovich's residence uncovered the personal belongings of his victims, a macabre reminder of the horrors he had inflicted. Shockingly, 12 of the murders had been committed in the final year of his 14-year reign of terror, revealing a chilling escalation in his brutality. Psychiatrists diagnosed him as a psychopath, but determined that he was sane. He initially denied the charges, but later confessed. He was given a death sentence and murdered by firing squad in 1987. Floresvaldo de Oliveira. Our next corrupt cop survived 27 years in prison, but barely survived a month after he got out.
And there you have it, YouTube. What did I tell you? Man, these corrupt cops been doing this forever. This is nothing new. They've been robbing, raping, killing, murdering. And it's not about color, black, white, Asian, whatever. It's about being right, man. These cops are dirty and it's foul. See, the reason why I'm doing these videos, because the cops done me dirty before. And as I was trying to explain it to people and let them know, hey man, these boys is dirty, they doing this and that. They didn't believe us. The old county jail, the old LA county jail, nobody believed us. Now, with these body cams and all these video cameras and people with their phones, now we're gonna hold them accountable. And I'm glad, I hope you guys are glad. Corruption and bad people need to be in jail. I'm sorry to be the one to say it. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I'm not out there doing that stuff. And right now, we're putting the cops under investigation. So this is what I need y'all to do. 2 things. Number 1, smash that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to the measly 500 once again. Number 2, leave that comment. Leave that comment. Tell me how I'm doing. Am I talking too much or what? And also, the announcement I had to make, I'm getting ready to release my website. You guys already know the Dirty Dozen album's coming out in a few weeks, I guess. But my website, Chin Checker Beats, be on the lookout for that. Also, all content creators, rappers, and singers, I'm going to leave a link in the description. Click on it. I'm giving out free promotional beats for your website, your social media, your podcast. So tune in for that and hit that subscribe button and click on that link. All right, peace out.